So the PS4 and Xbox One are just over 2 years old now, and recently a guy by the name of Michael Pachter, who is a video game, social media, digital media, and electronics analyst, according to the almighty Wikipedia, predicted that we could see the next-gen consoles as early as 2019, but most likely by 2020. The current gen consoles were released in late 2013, so this would mean that these consoles would have a lifespan of about 6 to 7 years. He says, so once everybody has a 4K TV, I think that's when you get a console cycle where you actually make things that are in 4K. Now, I'm not going to take Patcher's prediction as gospel since I have seen some articles pointing to his incorrect predictions in the past, like in 2005 when he recommended selling Netflix stock and buying Blockbuster stock instead. Yeah. However, I haven't seen any articles point to any point in time when he has made correct predictions, if he's ever made any, which I'm pretty sure he has, so I'm not sure what to think of the guy, but that's irrelevant. So forget him. Let's be the analysts, shall we? So now that we're all professional analysts, let's tackle the 4K thing. 4K will be mainstream at some point, but the question is, when? For years, I've been hearing how 4K is coming and it's going to be the standard, and while I agree, it hasn't really happened yet. And I think there's two main reasons for that. The first being that people want 4K TVs, but they don't see the point in buying one when most of the content they'll watch on it won't even be at 4K. And one of the reasons why most content isn't at 4K is because people don't have 4K TVs. So I'm sure you can see the problem here. And I think that the second issue is that lots of people don't even know what 4K is, which I'm actually pretty surprised about. I really expected there to be more advertising for 4K, but there really hasn't been much that could reach the average consumer. I think once people start seeing more advertisements for 4K, they'll start to consider buying a new 4K TV, which will of course help to solve the first problem. So once again, I do think that 4K will become the standard in the near future, but when exactly? And I'm not sure, it all depends. But I don't think that 2018 is a bad prediction for when they'll start becoming mainstream. By then, the prices will drop even more, and it's possible that most of the TVs that you'll see in something like a Best Buy will be at 4K, and if that's the case, I'm sure they'll be running advertisements for 4K TVs, as will other retailers. So now on to the more interesting topic, of course. What effect will this have on gaming? Will the new consoles actually be released in 3 to 4 years? Will they actually run games at 4K? I don't think that it's far-fetched to expect the new consoles to come out in 2020. That would mean that this generation of consoles will last about 7 years, which is only 1 year less than the last generation. And the thing we have to talk about is how underpowered these consoles have been. I mean, most games aren't even running at 1080p 60 FPS. Some games on the Xbox One are running at just 720p. So I could totally understand why this cycle might be a little bit shorter. However, judging by the lack of power in these consoles, can we really expect the PlayStation 5 to run games at 4K? I don't know. If the next gen consoles are anything like their predecessors, you can probably expect to game at 1440p. And I actually game at 1440p on my PC and it looks fantastic. But it will be a little disappointing if the next gen consoles can't run games that are at standard TV resolution. But we have to take into consideration how tech will evolve by then. Will graphics cards and processors be powerful enough to handle games at 4K? I'd say probably. If you look at something like the 980 Ti, one of the top of the line cards right now, it can run games at 4K medium-high settings at a good frame rate. So in 4 years time, I fully expect mid-range PCs to be able to handle games at 4K. The question is, will the consoles be able to? So the ball is in Sony and Microsoft's court. How much do they want to spend on making these consoles? If I remember correctly, they spent way more comparatively making the PS3 and Xbox 360 than they did on the X1 and PS4. So maybe they'll go back to doing things the old way, which wouldn't be a bad idea judging by how much the consoles have been ridiculed this generation. And not to mention that would be a huge win for gamers across the board. And I'd like to mention, as primarily a PC gamer, I would really like to see the consoles step their game up and challenge the PC, because competition is good, and I don't want PCs to just easily dominate the way they have this generation. I think if the consoles are better, I think AMD and Nvidia will have to step their game up as well in order to compete with the consoles, because the consoles, of course, are going to be able to undercut the PCs to some degree. But anyways, while Mr. Michael has made some bad predictions in the past, I don't see this one being that far-fetched. I think it's totally possible that we could see new consoles in 2020, and I know that this might piss some people off because I'm sure lots of gamers just made the upgrade to the PS4 or the X1 this past holiday season, and now we're already talking about the next gen. But don't worry, if we can make predictions about next gen based on this gen, we can say that even if the new consoles come out in 2020, there probably won't be a good reason to upgrade until 2022, because that's when all the devs will probably start making games for the new generation consoles. So don't worry, if you just bought a new console, you can get a good 6 or so years out of it. However, I am still skeptical about 4K capable consoles. I would probably put my money on consoles running games at 1440p, but I could be wrong, and honestly, I hope that I am. But that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're not feeling too shy, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about these next-gen console predictions. Do you think they're going to be released in that 2019-2020 bracket? And do you think they're going to run games at 4K? And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter. The link will be in the description box below. That's it for me, though, guys. Over me and out.